time. Please welcome Maureen Maloney.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my son Matthew. He was 23 years old, and he was the happiest, funniest person I ever known. He was one of those babies that was just born with a big smile on his face. And he genuinely loved people. Everybody in our hometown of Milford knew Matthew. If not personally, they knew him because when we would go to stores, he would chat with everybody, or as he was driving by, he'd give a thumbs up with a peace sign. So everybody knew Matthew. Matthew had planned to pursue a career in law enforcement after graduation. Yesterday was the 6th year anniversary of Matthew graduating from Framingham State University. And that was one of the happiest days of my life. I was so proud of Matthew. Little did I know it would be the last happiest day of my life. Less than 3 months later, on August 20th, 2011, my son Matthew Denice was tragically killed less than 2 miles from our home. Matthew was riding his motorcycle in a residential area with a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. Nicholas Guaman, an illegal alien with a criminal record, ran through a stop sign, colliding with Matthew's motorcycle. Matthew landed on the hood and the windshield of Guaman's truck and rolled off into the street. Witnesses saw Matthew getting up out of the road. During the trial, the Boston medical examiner and the forensic experts testified that Matthew survived the initial collision with just scrapes and bruises. They were able to identify that it was a low-impact collision. Matthew had slowed down to 5 miles an hour, and the truck was only going about 7 miles an hour when it went through the stop sign. So by all accounts, he should have lived. But Nicholas Guaman, who was an illegal alien, did not have a driver's license and had spent his day drinking beer, made a fatal decision. He ran over Matthew, causing Matthew to become lodged in the front right wheel well. He dragged Matthew a quarter of a mile to his death while horrified witnesses yelled for him to stop and banged on his truck. Witnesses heard Matthew's blood-curdling screams as his body was torn apart over the course of that quarter of a mile. Matthew's body was impeding the forward motion of that front wheel of the truck. Nicholas Guaman knew he was dragging my son into his truck, but he continued to flee the police. Eventually, Guaman ran off the road and Matthew's body became dislodged. Guaman then backed up over Matthew to continue to flee. And he had a 6-year-old son in the truck during all this. My son's body left a quarter of a mile trail of blood, and in the end, Matthew was left dying on the sidewalk, his flesh ripped from his arms, chest, and abdomen, and his intestines were strewn beside him on the sidewalk. Every one of his ribs were broken in multiple places and ended up puncturing his heart, lungs, and other vital organs. My son is dead because our leaders have put illegal aliens ahead of Americans and legal immigrants. My son's killer was a criminal alien. His killer was no stranger to law enforcement. He had been charged multiple times for driving without a license and only received a slap on the wrist each time. He had multiple assault charges, including assaulting a police officer, and his criminal record dated back 7 years prior to killing Matthew. There's a huge difference between legal immigration and illegal immigration. The minute you apply for permission to enter one is you apply for permission to enter this country, and the other one is done by breaking the laws of the country the minute you step foot on our soil without permission, or the minute your visa expires and you do not leave. Sanctuary cities are a magnet for illegal aliens who provide a safe haven for criminal aliens. Have you ever given much thought to what it takes for an illegal alien to survive? They need food and shelter, so they have to work, usually off the books or usually fraudulent Social Security numbers. Both are illegal. Ironically, somebody has been using my other son's Social Security number for the past 6 years. Since 2011, my son's reported this to the police department, the FTC Identity Theft Unit, and the IRS, and it still continues. Every year when he files his taxes, He has a big hassle getting his refund. And they will not give him the other name associated with his social security number. So he's just kind of locked into this. Back to your thought about what it must take for an illegal alien to survive. They need to work and shop for food just like we do. Many of them have to drive. And Massachusetts does not issue a driver's license to illegal aliens, so they drive with no driver's training. They don't pass a written test, they don't pass a practical test, and they don't have a driver's license. And many of them don't even read English, so they can't read the signs on our road. Again, all of this is illegal activity, and they're a danger on the road. Another anecdote. My son Matthew was involved with 3 minor fender benders in Milford in the 6 years that he drove before he was killed. 2 were hit and runs, and when you chased them down, each time it ended up being an illegal alien that had hit him and fled. The 3rd accident was while he was working at a pharmacy, and the lady came into the pharmacy. She was a US citizen, and she wanted to page overhead the license plate number of who the car belonged to so she could give her insurance information. That's the difference between legal and illegal. What happens when an illegal alien is sick or injured? They use our emergency room and we get stuck paying the bill by way of taxes. I work in healthcare. We are not allowed to ask somebody what their immigration status is. We can be fired for that. Or they get mass health. And yes, they do get mass health. Nicholas Guaman was a 31-year-old healthy man, father, worked as a roofer, and he was on mass health when he killed my son. That's where your tax dollars go. Who do you think educates their minor children when they get brought here, or even the adults that were, the 18, 19-year-olds that were coming over the border and getting put into high school and then a couple of years ago? We pay for all that. English isn't their first language. Those schools are so overburdened financially trying to accommodate those students. And criminal aliens prey on those illegal aliens that come here maybe for the right reasons, to get a job and have a better life. But they're preyed upon by criminal aliens. Illegal aliens also have a much higher rate of fleeing an accident when they have one. I don't have the statistics here in front of me, but statistically they flee at a much higher rate than US citizens. I could go on for much longer, but we do have the time limit. There are many ways that illegal aliens have to break the law to survive. Many people actually set illegal aliens up to be criminals because they just turn their head to them being here. We're not doing many of them a service by letting them be here and break our laws. Harboring an illegal alien is a crime, just as Sheriff Hodgson had said. So I'm not going to repeat what he had said, but aiding, abetting, and harboring an illegal alien is a crime on the books. You may have seen the bracelets I have at the table. They have names of innocent Americans and legal immigrants that have been killed by illegal aliens. Over the last couple of years, I've met hundreds of parents across the country who had their child killed by illegal aliens. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. My son Matthew paid the ultimate price. My family paid the ultimate price. And too many other victims in Massachusetts and around the country have paid the ultimate price. We must end sanctuary cities and enforce our current laws. Thank you.